Ma! Ma'am! What's happening, Colleen? Welcome. You were the first person in. You get something. What? I don't know. So, how are things with Half Pint? I see the radiator set up on top of the toolbox. That's interesting. I remember Roadkill having to make ductwork to funnel air down to the radiator because of the airflow over the top of the cab. Makes a dead zone there. Fixing a power washer someone threw out. Hell yeah. I was given a power washer and the carburetor I couldn't get off. I didn't have the right tools to. They had this stupid bracket around the carburetor, and then you had to go in at such a funny angle to get at the carburetor bolts. I find my lady finally got tired and she bought us a brand new DeWalt one, like 3100 psi. So my friend Dusty, who you've seen on the channel, Wolverine Satellite Garage, he ended up getting the old power washer. I hope he gets it running. He will. He's a crafty old boy. Speaking of small engine, we had a big power. I'll talk about this more in depth later when we get more people in, but I had a big storm. Mean Street Mopar, what's going on? Welcome to the live stream. Get myself something cold to drink. 1800 psi. Oh, an electric one. Israel, nice. Hello, Junior. Mia Khalifa. Ari, how's it going? Nice to see you. Why? It's Mr. Alex from Hubert's Projects. Hello. This is nice. She's not bad looking. Nice. It's quitting time. Great. Have you learned to cuss in German yet, Ari? Because you work with those great German automobiles. Yeah. We got to get a special pull the drums off of Lady Dougster's Beetle, and it's this neat torque amplifier tool. The center nut that holds the whole brake drum on front and rear is torqued to like 200 foot-pounds, and you'll have a hell of a time pulling them off without the tool. The tool makes it so easy. It's a 9-time torque amplifier. You've got a gear that looks like a crown, and it bolts on with 2 lug studs, and then you've got an armature that looks like a crank handle, and that with a gear on the end of it, you slide one end over the nut, and then the other onto the gear, and then you take your ratchet, and you get 9 times the torque multiplication. It's pretty cool. Cars of the fatherland. But the right tool sounds a lot better. You bet. Yeah. Yeah. They are pretty cool. That was one of those specialty tools. That was one of those things that you had to go borrow. The one guy who ran the bug shop, Al Groendike, uh, you could rent tools from him. That was always nice. He had a whole big old box of service tools, and just bring it back, and I'll charge you X. Hell yeah. Al Groendike had a dirt dragster that was named Dr. Whiplash, and everything that Al built was hot Volkswagen. And he did Formula V's. He did engines for guys in Formula V, which was the Volkswagen platform, uh, close course racing, um, road course, and then also dirt drag. And his rail dragster for dirt was Dr. Whiplash, and it had an 1800 engine in it, and it had velocity stacks that were so tall that it was almost the air filters. It had big truck air filters on top of it too, but the cones to these velocity stacks were at eye level. The thing was amazing. So one time they're at GM Proving Grounds at the finals, and Al is up against a guy with a Keith Black built Hemi dirt dragster, and he just figures, I'm shafted. I'm going to go, I'm going to give it the best I can, and then, I'll lose gracefully. So the light goes, they boogie out, and he shuts down. It was close. He figures, nah, he lost. He's going to be the good sports or out of his car, taking his gloves off, and he looks up, and the light's on his lane. He beat him. And basically, he tried to be a good sportsman, goes over to the guy with the Keith Black Hemi, tries to shake his hand. Nope, want nothing to do with it. They put that car on that trailer, and they were gone. And it took him like the next year, the next season, for him to finally come and talk to him and apologize, shake his hand. He goes, I got so much flack from everybody because a Keith Black Hemi got beat by a Volkswagen. A Volkswagen. Weight to horsepower. The thing was a ripper. Okay. Danster. Kim. Oh, Volkswagen Unfinished Project 777. Hi, Kim. How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they really do. The there was some seriously hot Volkswagen. One guy, his last name was, well, they called him Beekster. An old Beekster ran Formula V, and he was like always, either he was first or second every season. Either he won it or he didn't, but it was always by. And old Beekster had Al build and tune everything. Mean Beekster practically lived there too, but his Formula V was hard to beat. I never seen him race, but I heard, I was in there enough to, hear Beekster talking about what was happening last weekend down to Gingerman, which is south west of me, and Gingerman Raceway, and it's as beautiful as it is cool. It's like an awesome place. No, wait. Grattan. It's Grattan. That's the beautiful one. Gingerman's cool, though. They're both cool. Did Veep turn into Jeepsters? Hey, come on over, Ari. Come on over. You'll have a time. I guarantee it. Careful. You may not want to leave. That's okay. No. Check it out. New addition to the Wolverine Garage. I went to a vintage motorcycle show last Sunday, and my friend Freckle was selling a bunch of these old road signs, decommissioned by our county, and so yeah, I picked up that one because they didn't have 43. It was like mid 40s and up, and then it was low 50s. So I just said, I'll take 50. But it's a reflective sign, so that would be cool here for the shop. And then I got, Freckle. Yep, my friend Freckle. That's been his nickname since 86. Yeah. Yeah, that's been his nickname for years. So I picked up a bunch of stuff at the swap meet when I was there, besides the sign. I got one of those. It's heavy, otherwise I'd bring it over here. It's one of those tractors, but it's a little tractor. It waters your lawn. You've seen it. It's yellow, white wheels, and then it's powered by the water as water pumps through it. That's what powers it. It's got a few speed transmission in it, and then it just drives around. It'll follow the hose wherever you position it. And my dad had one. I always liked it, so I found one cheap and I picked it up. It's probably 18 inches. It's an older one, so it actually has some weight to it. And it has a valve in the bottom of it. And you've got this little ski slope thing that you snap onto the hose. I can bring you that. You hear my dog barking? Got this little ski slope thing. So you slip the hose in this, runs underneath it, and then the tractor will come over and run it over, and then at the right spot, there's a valve on the bottom of it, and this will shut it off. It'll hold the valve and it'll just stop. It's actually pretty neat. My dad has one, and I'm like, it was $20. Okay, yeah, I'll pay $20 for that. One of my friends is a retired machinist, and he brings a little bit of machinist tools every year to the various shows. And I picked up a Swiss-made, Intrepid is the brand, and it is a runout indicator. And the guy that I bought this from recommends the Intrepid over even Brown and Sharp and Starrett. I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. The power washer works. Most excellent. So yeah, got myself a little runout indicator. It was cheap. And then I got 4 indicators. Now that's an actual good Swiss brand on the runout thing. This is it just says Japan on it, but it's a whole set of bore indicators. So now I need to get calipers these size. I can measure them because these ones don't show me anything. but still, step in the right direction. I didn't give a lot for it either, so something nice to have. And I got something big enough because this big one goes up to 6 inches. So yeah, guess which one's going to be used the most? Because the next largest one only goes up to 3.5 inches or 90 centimeter. And then I got a big long 1/2 inch drive Apex brand extension. So I got some now real good brand name, just cheap Japanese tools, but they're obstruction wrenches and they're all metric and it's a set. So okay, yeah, I can use those. Obstruction wrenches are really nice. And then I got a Craftsman clear smoky plastic handled chisel that looks like it's been well used. That's good to see. And then a couple of Craftsman screwdrivers, nut drivers, stuff like that. Yeah. Oh, and I got a Craftsman extension. There wasn't a lot of stuff at the swap meet this year. Seen a really cool Firestone tire sign that was probably 2 foot tall and 8 feet long, and it was like a light red and embossed. I think, yeah, I think it was embossed Firestone. It was cool. Guy wanted $1,400 for it, and as nice as that was, I could see that. My dream car, it changes. My dream car changes, but they're usually I wouldn't want another if I had this one. A 1959 Pontiac Bonneville coupe on 8 lugs, 489 tri-power 4-speed. And the color would probably be dark green, like emerald green, the black interior. That would be a beautiful, awesome car to have. Be powerful, looks good. Yeah. I might even ditch the power and go to dual quads, but tri-power was the hot ticket with Pontiac. Still prefer the 59 Impala? I don't know. I'm a Pontiac guy, though. That's my thing, Danster. I'm a Pontiac guy. The 59 had the double fin that went down, and then you got the peace sign on the tail light. The top of the tail light's got bunny ears for the double fin. Your Impala doesn't have that, even though the Impala 59 Impala is a good looking car. Yeah, bubble top. Cool car. Went on fire. Well, it says money talks. Mine only says buy. Yeah, I'll back up. Mine only says buy. Oh, wait. There's Bud the Spud. We've got a potato on site. So all's calm. We don't want to upset the potato gods, so we have to have one that's present. It was an Iron Duke and a Buick. Tell you what, that Iron Duke, potato, that's right, potato, boom. That Iron Duke was a bad little engine. They ran those in Legends cars for a while before they went to the motorcycle engines, which made them, those little bastards, even quicker. Anyways, a guy that I used to work with, his older brother was buying a new car. He had bought a Chevy Monza, brand new, with an Iron Duke and a 4-speed. Car only had like 60,000 miles on it. My friend Aaron is saving up money for his first car, and he doesn't have his license as of yet. No, he just had his license, and he couldn't decide on what he wanted. Had this much money to spend, and he was looking at this, he was looking at that, he really wanted this, and his brother comes up to him and goes, "So what'd you figure out on a car?" And he goes, "I don't know. I want to buy this. I want to buy that. I still don't know." He goes, "Here, I'll make it easy on you. Here, take the Monza. You can have it. I'm going to go buy a new car." Okay. So Aaron had a 80 Chevy Monza in high school. His friend, his uncle, ran outlaw cars. And he says, "Oh, this is the same engine we run in outlaw cars." And he goes, "I'll bring you some of his speed part magazines." So he starts throwing him speed part magazines, and Aaron took all of the money he had saved up for a car and bought all the speed parts for his 2.5. And he just went Bobby Bolt on. He didn't modify the head. He didn't do anything to the bottom end. He just, whatever was a speed part that you could bolt on, that's what he did. And he actually could take on small block Chevy cars and sometimes win, which is pretty impressive for an Iron Duke. Yeah, that was very reliable. No powerhouse in stock configuration. Yeah, Bobby Bolton. That's what we always called that. Go Bobby. But he went Bobby Bolton on it. Yeah, basically he had he had a car's worth of money to buy. Yeah, he had the header and also whatever he could bolt on with no modification. Yep. Take care of my empty. Be right back. So had quite the storm Thursday evening. A tornado had touched down very close to me. It was a little further east of me, but it was still in my area. The winds blew. Oh my God, it was bad. And it didn't rain very much, or it didn't rain very long. But I'll tell you what, in that little bit of time, we got a crap ton of rain. It knocked over a tree from across the street towards our house. It didn't hurt nobody's house. It was far enough up by the road. But when it fell, it blocked my driveway. And then it brought down the power line off of the main feed that fed my house and my two neighbors. And that was interesting. And so yeah, nothing bad happened other than that, the tree going down and knocking out the power. And we didn't get, that was on Thursday, and they turned the power went out 2 a.m. We didn't have power back, and that was on Friday morning. We didn't have power back until Saturday at 2 or 3 a.m. So, and I'll tell you what, the power company, kudos to those guys. Those dudes were humping. I mean, there was no, break time or anything like that. They were on it. It was impressive watching those guys work. I'm sure they get paid very well for what they do, but yeah, I stayed the hell out of their way. And those guys were freaking determined. It was cool to see. And here's a cool thing, they were taking turns because they had a diverse crew, and they were taking turns putting tunes into the Bluetooth speaker or whatever, because you'd hear some Mexican accordion and music and guitars, and then that'd be a country boy, an old country song, or it'll be a hard rock tune, and they would kind of rotate from there. I thought that was pretty cool. So everyone got to hear what they wanted to hear. I thought that was cool. Instead of we listen to the rock station here, son. Yeah, tornadoes do suck. Yeah. Yeah, that sucks. So we've had a generator for a few years now, and we've never really attempted to use it. I mean, other than every so often I would light it up here in the garage and make sure it ran, and but never actually put it to use for its intended use. Never ran a tank of fuel through it. The same fuel that was in it is what I burned through it the other night, and yeah, didn't miss a beat. We bought it from her Lady Dougster's uncle, and he's an old farmer, old retired farmer, and he doesn't farm anymore, but he's kind of duffs around his ranch and takes care of things, and they've got a big backup. He went to a better system that runs on propane, and then sold us this with low hours, and guaranteed us that it would work. And he's one of those guys where you actually go, yeah, he ain't gonna shiest you. And man, that thing worked great after I got it lit up, and yep, ran great, and did everything we needed for it. So hell yeah. For line on your property, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Our power company's pretty on it. On it. They went through and did they replaced everything on this main line that comes up and down the power line. They went absolutely bananas. They used to have just, regular wooden poles. They tore all those out, and then they put these big welded galvanized. They're awesome, actually. They're awesome. Well made. That thing will be there for a solid 50 years. Won't rot. And yeah, they have all in this area. They have come through and replaced upgraded everything. And those guys work year round. I've seen those guys working. Right at that time, they were working right here next to my house, and it was January, -10, and those boys are working. So holy crap! Now, granted, that day did have a whole bunch of pickup. Sir Dougster, I am 6%. How's it going? Those guys were taking heat, warming up brakes in the pickup, so I don't blame them there. But the point is, they were still working, which was impressive. And they got a lot of timbers, and it all hauls in on like 4 or 5 flatbed trucks, semis, and then they just lay them out, and that's what they drive their equipment on. And it's impressive when you see it all laid out. Looks like Lincoln logs on a whole bigger scale. I'm going to put a 200 amp main box in my house, and even though they were done there. Oh, okay. Weatherhead and everything. Gotcha. got some friends of mine that are older electricians, and boy, they'll tell you some stories that will just make you go. He's working on a. He's working on one guy was working on an apartment, and it had a baseboard heater in the living room. He didn't think anything of it, baseboard heater, and he's got all the electricity turned off, but he still has energy going to the baseboard heater. The baseboard heater was still hot. And he goes through and starts to investigate what these people had done is they had taken a baseboard heater and they had bored a hole into the wall, and they went straight into the weatherhead that actually brings the service into the house, and then stuffed the wires from that electric baseboard heater directly to the power inlet, and then just made it look nice. So that thing ran for God knows how long. Run like that. He's like, oh man, that's bad. Oh, that's bad. Some people, man. Yeah, the power company had to replace a pole. Those guys didn't waste no time. Although not so much when they're free. Yeah. A friend of mine was down on his luck right out of we were all out of high school. He was down on his luck and he ended up moving into low income housing. And that particular place had steam heat, and the whole place was steam heated. And wow, I'll tell you what, you could turn the dial up and down on it, and boy, you turn that thing to full tilt. Oh yeah, you're getting warm. Steam is noisy. Fox Dude, what's going on? Fox Dude, welcome to our live stream. The guy that I used to be friends with is actually a Boilermaker by trade, and he works for public schools. And Mike Trout, very cool. Thank you, Mike. That kind of makes me look forward to Mondays now. Yeah, compared to hot water and radiators. Yeah. Well, he was a Boilermaker, and he was works for a public school, but he used to be a technician for a boiler service, and he was working in the greater Detroit area, and he gets brought into this facility with no heat, and it's an old apartment building with steam heat, and it's old, it's ancient, and the basically what the landlord wants is it to be just the old dinosaur kicked in the ass enough to make heat. That's all they care about. And he goes down there and he realizes this thing was built in the 20s, and this is like 1997 or 1999, and it's an actual, at one time it was manned by people. There was an office, and he says he goes into the office at this huge thing, and there's a calendar on the wall and a date circled in red, and the happy retirement cards are still on the desk where they had a party for Bob when he retired out of there in 1974. So that thing had not seen regular service since 1974. And he says he had to go through this nightmare and figure out what's going on. And he figures out that this thing is in poor shape. This thing needs a lot of help. Nope, nope, nope. Not interested in that at all. Can you just cobble it together and make it work again? Yeah, but I really shouldn't. I can't afford it. Won't afford it. Will not. And just a big pain in the butt. The Camaro in 2015. This is true. We have power. You have power to make the next day better. Today was bad. One of my Toro mowers died. I broke a neighbor's car window using the weed trimmer. Ugh. Well, usually bad things happen in threes. So there's two. One might be on the way or one might have happened. So if you did your three, then you're good for a while. Wise old bird taught me that one. Hi, Mohammed. I had a bad three. My transmission dies in my girlfriend breaks up with me. That night going into work, the transmission in my car catastrophically dies. And then I go get my spare car, which is a Volkswagen Jetta. My daily at that time was a 83 Olds custom cruiser wagon. I know, Pitmobile. And then I had to go get my spare car, working night shift. Had to go get my spare car legal. I got my spare car legal, which was a 91 Volkswagen Jetta. I got that legal, slept very little, had to go to the Secretary of State, which is like the DMV. Slept very little, and then went to work. And then I fell asleep behind the wheel for just a second and woke up just in time to slam on the brakes, and I slid up underneath a Ford pickup, which took out my radiator support, the radiator, shoved that into the engine, broke the water neck, of course smashed the grill, buggered up my hood. No, the hood lived. It was all low. Or no, sorry, the damage was all high. No, I had to replace the hood and an fender. Yeah. And the same guy that towed me home like the day before with my with the transmission in my station wagon, now I smashed my Volkswagen, and he told me that bad things happen in threes. So he goes, you had this happen, because I told him what happened, and he goes, girlfriend, transmission, now this. You should be looking up. He was right. Things did get better. Luckily, Pull and Pray has a couple of verse notes in the yard. Guess what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm not going to be cutting any grass. Yeah. Well, I think I won't even talk about it, but yeah. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate the compliment. As a matter of fact, out of the blue, a friend of mine got a hold of me, and it's my friend's daughter that I used to do rendezvous camping with, which is like period correct camping, living history. We would actually look the part, dress the part, act the part, not reenacting because we're not doing any battles or anything like that. We're just hanging out, camping, and doing our normal thing. But we represent the fur trade, 1800 to 1840. And so we dress. I have a hat that's made from a flour sack, and I've got pants and shoes. And if anyone's seen my camp at No Name Nationals, that's a lot of it. I have a table. Everything stacks flat. It all throws in my trailer. But so I have a nice table. I have benches, which those don't stack flat. Those are storage units to throw everything inside. They're just big coffin boxes almost. And yeah, but everything stacks flat. And anyways, you look at my camp and you'd say, oh wow, that looks no different than it did in 1840. And I walk over to the wooden box and then I flip it open and that's where my cooler is. And then I've got an igloo cooler full of water for cooking, but it's disguised. And so we have modern stuff, you just can't show it. So we get creative. But yeah, we camp normal. But it looks neat. Nighttime is the best when we have our candle lanterns out and then somebody's playing the guitar or flute or the harmonica, cool stuff. Or we get guys that would just get roaring drunk and sing. They'd sing these old Irish tunes, and it was just the coolest thing ever. And they just get right into it, arm in arm around the fire, and yeah, some good stuff. A lot of times we would play with antique muzzle loading lead propulsion devices. Jude, what's going on? We would go on scenario walks, and that was actually pretty neat. You'd have your lead propulsion device with you, and then you'd walk down a trail, and then you would have, it was like choose your own adventure. You are tasked with doing this. You got to go here to do this, and it ties in with something of history. And then on your way, you encounter things, and one of them is you have Native Americans. Do you want to be peaceful or do you want to attack? It's your choice. And so you decide to be peaceful. They're violent, so they attack and they hurt you. So they'll say that I hurt my right arm, and then they sling you up because you got to do first aid. So now I'm slung up for the rest of the scenario because I'm hurt, and then I still have to use my lead propulsion device and still have to do tasks, but I'm hurt. And one of them, we get swarmed by, because you got people that dress as Native Americans and plus us that are the fur trappers. And then at one stop, we get swarmed upon by a large group, and then they start picking through your kit, your possibles bag, and then your pockets and everything. What they're looking for is modern things. You know, you can't have a Bic lighter. I shouldn't have my glasses on. I would have to get the proper ones. But they're looking for improper things that are period correct to ding you on. And then they're also asking you history questions. And so that's interesting. So you're getting searched and you're getting quizzed. And that was actually a lot of fun. And my friend Damien, his first time out, scored like a 97 on one, which was just insane. And everyone was coming around and talking to him and saying, we can't believe that you did that well for your very first one. Here, or ever. He's like, ever. I've never done this before. They're like, wow. How much do I make on YouTube? Man, I'll tell you right now, Mike, I make squat. Zero. I make nothing. I'm not big enough, not monetized, nothing. I don't make a dang dime. And really, to be honest, I don't care if I do. If I make money doing this, it's okay, but it's not like I need to become monetized. I want my, no. I know I'm not going to be no Vice Grip Garage or anything like that. I'm not going to quit the day job to become a YouTuber. I don't see that coming. Agreed, Kim. Agreed. Agreed. I'll get there. I'm doing better. I tell you what, these lives have sure helped. Propel me. But yeah, if I make it to 500, that's only because I would like to race at Sykeston someday. Wow, thanks, Danster. Deaf Hip Lives. Yeah, I haven't been contacted by any corporations yet for promotion or anything like that, and I mean I may do those, but it was funny that I was at Napa and I seen some Super Clean, and I'm like, oh hey, Grease Spot, what's happening? How are things down in Ohio? I was at a vintage cycle show, and there's one guy. He always comes with some sweet stuff, and he had a bunch of old Ohio license plates. The old ones where you've got the two O's and the HI in the plate for the symbol of Ohio. Those are really cool. OHIO all in that circle. He had those. He had some from the 20s. He had a bunch of Ohio stuff that was cool. In a Cleveland accent. I really don't know it. I really don't know it. Unless you want to talk like you're from Chicago. 38 Ohio. I mean, yeah. I mean, I get all sorts of stuff. As a matter of fact, I got Ohio plates on the wall. There's one of them. The other one's over there. Oh, there's the other one. I got a pair. And then that's a license plate topper. Galion, Ohio. And it's painted. It's painted in Smaltz paint, SMALTZ, and it reflects like street signs. It's pretty cool. Yeah, Grease Spot. That's the most hated That's the most hated Ohio plate for the Ohio State fans because it's maize and blue. And that might be the reason why I bought them. But we can still be friends, right, Grease Spot? Fair enough. Fair enough. Youngstown. Oh, there was at the Vintage Cycle Show, there was a guy there with a 79 CVX. It was missing its side covers. It was missing its carb bank and its air box. And they wanted 45. It had 20,000 miles on it, and they wanted $4,500 for it. And somebody had painted a dragon on the side of the tank for some reason. Yeah, wish I had $4,500. I would have bought it. One back order. Radiator drive shaft adapter plate completed, hydraulic clutch plumbing next. That sounds exciting, but necessary. Cool. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Half pint update. Half pint update. Update. Up on the lake. Sydney, Ohio. I think I've been to Sydney, Ohio. I've been to Montpelier. Is that where that? Yeah, been to Montpelier. Been to Port Clinton. Went walleye fishing one spring. Right off of the power, right next to that big power station in Port Clinton. Man, that was an amazing fishing trip. That was fun. Of course, I've been to Sandusky, to Cedar Point. Who hasn't been there? Isn't Kings Island in Ohio? I think it is. Is Kings Island even around? Amusement park? Used to be. Oh, Cincinnati. Down where WKRP is with the big guy and Herb. WKRP trivia. Herb talks about a car he drives. What does Herb drive in WKRP? And it makes perfect sense. When I tell it to you, you're all going to go, oh, yeah, he would drive that. Oh, yeah, he'd drive that. Fun fact, there's a town named... So is that tightwad going to blow its wad tonight? Of money, that is. My car for the first time? Volare Aspen? A thing? No, Dan. No, it isn't a thing. But yeah. So what is WKRP? 1980? Yeah, it's got to be about 1980. So he's a salesman. He's an old slick guy. What would he drive in like 1978, 1980? Jag? No. Too nice. Too nice. Herb Tarlick was cool. He was cool. I just like the fact that he got turned down every day of the week, but, you know, got to hear 1,000 no's to hear one yes. Lincoln Versailles? Nope, too nice. Saturday at 2 p.m. at the fairgrounds in Sydney, Ohio. Be there or be square. New Yorker? No, but you're close. You're very close. Mercury Bobcat? No. Pinto Bill? Diplomat? No, you're getting close though. Fifth. Nope, wasn't a fifth. I'll just tell you. Cordoba. He had a Cordoba. And you're like, of course he did. Yup, Grease Spot said Cordoba. Yeah. And see, doesn't that fits him all the way with the fine Corinthian leather. Cordoby. Douchebag car. Hey, I like Cordobas. Douchebag car. But I like round headlight Cordobas, not the square ones. I think the round headlight Cordoba looks way better. My Aunt Mary had a Cordoba when I was a little kid. It was burgundy, white top, burgundy interior, and I think it had a power moonroof in it. The Prelude. Jensen 6x9s and a Sparkomatic power booster. Woo! We're jamming now. Oh, man. I thought I was going to get my Krakow out. Oh, yeah. Spark and Static Sparkomatic. That was good. When I was heavily into car audio stuff, that was our big joke, is that we wanted to have a beaten feet stereo, and then I have, like, instead of like JL Audio or Pioneer or Precision Power or all those other big names of the time, it would say Krakow and Sparkomatic. That'd be so crazy. Ones are better. They do look better. That square headlight ruined that car. Yeah, the Cordobas are a lot of fun, I think, the right ones. And as a matter of fact, there's the Daytonas that were on that platform that were based. The Daytona was essentially a Cordoba, but boy, they laid some really cool looking paint jobs on that car. There's a one Charger Daytona that's Doba based, and it's like a blue jean blue, and it's got a black graphic that runs. It's like a billboard looking stripe, but there's one over the front tire, and then it comes into the door a little bit, and then there's one that's over the back tire, and it's real big billboard style, and that's either in black, like shiny black or flat black, and it's trimmed out, and man, that car looks good. Has anyone seen Mike Cotton? He used to wrench with Newbern on Faster with Finnegan, or Newbern and Cotton later. His that Murata that he owns, that some people call cotton candy, that's actually pretty cool. That is actually pretty cool. I like it. The Pepto-Bismol pink and everything, and it's just, yeah, that's so nostalgic and cool. Cotton is real cool and handy too. Very handy. Systematic, hydromatic, sparkomatic. Nope, doesn't sound the same. Danny did better grease. Boys, it's Grease Lightning. Yeah. Well, I mean, that Murata, I think, I'm surprised we haven't seen Dr. G yet, but I think, yeah, that Murata's on that same platform because Dr. G has a second generation Cordoba, and it's really nice. Yeah, and then it's Murata is one of those cars. It's the Murata's front end makes me think of a Dodge Magnums. It's got that same pointy bird beak looking center grill thing going on. Dark red Murata. I don't think I remember riding in a Murata, to be honest. I remember when my friend of the family, she bought a brand new Plymouth Horizon. I remember that car as well. It was so new, it still smelled new. And I remember her going down the road and talking to me, and she had her hands on her knees. It was tracked straight down the road. She didn't even hold the wheel. It just went straight down the road. So that's how new that car was. That was like burgundy. Yeah, it was burgundy with a gray interior, I think. Yeah. Horde clean out in Illinois. I need a little more information there, Grease Spot. And that Murata, and we could. Oh, wow. Yeah. God, I remember all the dumb stuff we used to do that you'd never see today. Uh, uh, I remember us going on vacation up north, and one of the girls, because they were all in this area where you could rent cabins, and a whole bunch of friends of my family all rented cabins at the same time. We all spent a week up by this great lake, this great little lake, and one of the daughters of the friends was dating a guy. He had a big old square body Chevy all jacked up, and she wanted to go for ice cream, and his dad said, if you're going to go for ice cream, all the kids here want ice cream too, so it ain't fair for you two to go get ice cream when all those kids want ice cream. So either everyone goes or you guys don't go. That's the deal. And the boyfriend said, come on, everybody. And we all piled in the back of that square body Chevy. There had to have been 12 of us, all littered in the bed. And it was a short box, too. And we're all in the bed of the truck, and we rode 3 miles down the road to the ice cream shop and back. Totally not, would have been cool, but it was absolutely normal, in 1989. or us farming all day and then doing wagon loads of hay, and then we would just ride on the wagons. How else are we going to get back to the farm? So we just ride on the wagon. We rode on the wagon going in with no hay, and then we'd actually have to go through the town that we lived in. It had a main 4 and a light, and we'd wait at the intersection, and when we get the green, we'd go. And I remember us going and we'd touch the street light or the signals, because we were about the same height as they were. And I remember my friend's dad going, "You kids don't touch those things. Leave them alone." Okay. Yeah. And just stuff like that. Totally uncool stuff today. Totally normal in 1989. Only 4-wheel drive ever rode in was a square body. Oh, back up. Cincinnati back at 89 Jeep Cherokee pickup on the interstate. Okay, I'll have to check that out, Grease Spot. Hi, Dutch. We went on vacation to Cedar Point, and we did it in our 78 Toyota pickup. It was a white 78 Toyota 4-cylinder 5-speed 4x4 truck with a blue interior. It had an 8-track player. And Dad had a little aluminum topper on the truck, and Mom would take the couch cushions, throw them in the back of the Toyota, and away we'd go. And yeah, I remember it was going all over the place in that pickup. And then we got an Oldsmobile. Well, it was always, if we had truck work to do, then we took the truck and all us kids. And that was always interesting because Mom and Dad liked it because they didn't have to listen to us. But something would happen, I'd have to tap on the glass and finally get the once again, something totally normal in 1989. We were going down. A friend of my mom and dad's was a woodworker, and he made a whole bunch of really nice picnic tables. And he would route stuff into them, and he'd make them really nice. And they auctioned one off for the church, and we went and got it. And we just got the new picnic table. No, where was that empty? No, we had dropped off wood because we agreed that we would pay for materials first up front. So we brought materials to him, and then we were leaving there, and we were going to go get on the highway, and somehow the hitch had come undone. Thank God for the safety chains. And then so the trailer's now rearing back on the safety chains, and I'm drumming on the glass like I'm freaking Keith Moon trying to get my parents' attention. And then finally they get pulled over, and Dad quick runs out, and he's hitching up the trailer back up to the truck, and a cruiser pulls up behind him and then holds Dad for a little while because he borrowed the trailer from my Uncle Jimmy, and Uncle Jimmy had forgotten he had the renewal tab for that trailer and trailer plate, and he forgot to put it on. So my dad got a ticket for improper plates. Dad was not a happy camper. I believe Uncle Jimmy paid that fine. He paid the fine for my dad because it was Uncle Jimmy's fault. Uncle Jimmy's a really stand-up guy. Now, Michigan trailer plates are permanent. You pay a lump sum up front, and they're good forever. So, heck yeah. Because I remember when trailer plates for a year on a trailer were like $14. It's like, why? Okay. He was in a Mark 8. Ooh, Bear Rose, what's happening? Went to the Brickyard 400 in 1998, got on I-74 to head home, and there was a pickup truck with a tonneau cover and a tailgate down. People are riding back there on the interstate. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was normal. That was normal. Bought a 94 F-250 4x4 last month. Ugly as hell, but runs and drives good. One more 460 to add to the collection. Yes, yes, yes. My friend Dusty bought it was a 94. 94 F-150 four-wheel drive. Had a 351 in it. It was a Kentucky truck originally. Had a little rust. It spent some time here in Michigan, but it wasn't bad. And had the nice aluminum wheels on it, four-wheel drive, 351, cab and a half, short box, in that really bright blue. It was a sharp truck, a real eye catcher, in blue, like almost like the moderator blue. It was a good-looking truck. It didn't have a lot of rust, and it had a few small issues. And my friend Dusty is just so sharp at this stuff. And he's really good. He's a Ford whisperer. He understands. He speaks Ford very well. And he got all the little nuances ironed out of it. And then he took that puppy to auction. Bought it cheap and took it to auction and made a little money on it. But, not a great sum. But good for him. And in 77, come back from Logan, Utah, rod run. I was in the back of my dad's 32 Ford pickup, and he was racing a Chevelle, 120 miles an hour, and it was trying to suck me out of the bed of that little truck. Dusty and his T-Birds. Dusty and his T-Birds. Yes. He's had a couple few. Yeah, Dusty is, Dutch knows who Dusty is. He's a great wrench. Great guy. Yeah, I especially am fond of the 70s. If it were for the 70s, I wouldn't be here. I'm a product of the 70s, man. It was probably... What did I go on Jim's speedboat? It would have to be like 1981 or 82 when Dad took me over to the lake that now I live by, and his friend Jim had a bad to the bone boat, and it was a black speedboat, and it had a polished Bigfoot gas pedal. I remember that. And it had a blown big block Chevy on it and zoomy headers. Or no, it had up headers. They were normal headers, but they were upside down and pointed back. And Junkyard D, what's happening? And so it was nighttime and it was starting to rain, and they had to take it from Jim's lake house to the boat launch to get it out. And so his son's got to take the boat out. And so he says, come on, you want to ride? Yeah. And the guy, the Jim's son, little Jim, was so impressed with me because I'm a kid and I'm sitting straight up and the rain's pelting me. It hurts so bad. And he's like, you can get down here. And nope, he wasn't going to flinch. I was tough. I'm just a little kid. Stood up and took it. He was so impressed by the time we got across the lake to the boat launch. And then Jim At that time, he had a 70 El Camino. And I remember me, Dad, and Jim all huddled up. I'm just a little guy, but I'm between Jim and Dad in that black 70 El Camino. And then Jim would hit me with his elbow when he'd shift it. I think that had a big block in it, but I know it was a 4-speed. Yeah, Jim's always had some sweet stuff, and usually it's black. I want a Bigfoot pedal, and you'll see me saying mud flaps for my F-150. You can't see them, but way in the very back of my shop, yeah, you can. Right there. You can barely make it out. That's a mud flap with a chrome trucker girl on it. And those are eventually going to get cut down and integrated into shop truck. Yep, flaps for shop truck. Yep. I have to use them too, because I've had those girls for years now. My friend Jason had them. He had an 83 Aerodyne Kenworth cab over, just like BJ and the Bear, except his was brown, caramel, nougat, tan. It looked like a Snicker bar with a nut loose behind the wheel. And the whole interior of it was in a creamy tan, like nougat, with brown buttons. It was a gorgeous truck. Anyways, I gave those to him. That's the only reason why I got them. A friend of mine had them, and he finally sold them to me. And I said, "Here, you need these." And he must have rocked them for like 40 or 50,000 miles. What engine in the Aerodyne? That had a 3406. Had a Caterpillar 3406. I need dual fire sticks. Yeah, that was a great tractor. Had a 13. Yeah, had a 13 speed in it. So it was the stand-up sleeper, just like BJ and the Bears. That was a great truck. It was an 83. And my friend Jason bought it out of Caterpillar. No. Caterpillar. Because when Caterpillar's valves are adjusted properly, they clank shut. If they're quiet, something's wrong. That's why you call them Caterpillars, not caterpillars. I know that sounds absolutely opposite of what you think, but yeah, it's got to clank shut if it's working properly. I've seen some downright nasty V8 Caterpillars. One of my favorites, and it was Caterpillar. Oh, I'm not surprised. There was a friend of my father's that is, believe it or not, he signed on working for the trucking company that my dad worked at, where he signed on and was trained. And then soon after, he's now flight trainer for other new hires. And this guy, we'll call him by his old CV handle, Freddie Flintstone. And old Freddie Flintstone was trained by my dad. And Dad and Freddie Flintstone became really good friends. And later, old Freddie quit. Dad stopped working at that trucking company, and later Freddie too. And Freddie ended up buying a cab over Kenworth, and it was navy blue and white striped, the whole thing from top to bottom with vertical white stripes. Navy blue with white stripes. I mean, you seen that truck coming. It looked like a prisoner running at you. It was really dark blue with white stripes. It had a V12 Deutz air-cooled diesel in it, and it was nicknamed the cat eater. As long as the air temperature was over X amount of degrees or hotter, the thing couldn't be shut down. It was a 100-mile-an-hour rig all day long, and it was fast, fast, fast. And Dad said that many times he'd see old Freddie get that thing all wound up and just walk away from the best of them, even loaded. And it was super fast. But once it got cold out, she wouldn't, she'd run so cold that he couldn't run her in her optimal range. And she was absolutely miserable all winter till spring. Oh, and here we go. Wouldn't that suck? She's running like a bastard in July and August, and then October she's starting to teeter off. Yeah, November she's not having it. KT3460E is a badass caliper channel. Yeah. Intake air preheater. Yes. Yes. There's actually a specialty shop northwest of me that deals in nothing but Deutz diesel and has for as far back as I can remember. And there's always green tractors around. And as a matter of fact, one of the tractor pulls I go to, there's a guy there who has a really turned up Deutz diesel tractor pulling for tractor pull. And that's really impressive. Yeah, I know they can do it. The only Deutzes that I've ever worked on were the little guys, the little 3-cylinders that are the size of a snowmobile engine. And it's got the little hood that goes all around it that blows across the cylinders. And, that's the only one that I've ever had any experience with. And I really never really worked on one other than maintained it. So I can't even say that I really wrenched on one. Oh, one ran out of fuel. I had to reprime it. But yeah, those were actually surprisingly good little runners. Intake air preheater. Yes. Yeah. Freddie Flintstone would have that thing winter fronted like Fort Knox and trying to keep as much heat in it as he could. And sometimes it was just, where's UP? I don't know. UP. I sent out the call. Yeah, he was here earlier. Yes, it was confirmed. A confirmed sighting of the unfinished project. Boy, I was really surprised at No Name Nationals how adamant Wendy is about meeting and figuring out who Unfinished Project is. That was really funny. She was talking about her theories and everything. Yeah. Wendy is a trip. I like Wendy. I like Don. I think they're great. I really wish I could have taken Don's old 5-barrel out for a spin, that 440 with the 5-barrel, where he had the 4-barrel and then the 2-barrel or 1-barrel set up on a dual 4 intake. And I guess it was set up in such a way that basically 2-barrel for the 1-barrel for town, and then it must have been on a progressive linkage, and he said that it'd be 4-barrel on the highway. And I bet that'd be a lot of fun. I'll bet you there's a big rush of power when you tip over, when you get into that progressive spot where you finally start to get the 4-barrel to kick in. Eight barrels would be much better. Yes. Yes. I do remember a friend of mine setting up his 6-pack on his Roadrunner, and he set it up in a manner to where instead of it doing its normal progression where it would be the 2-barrel and then I think the front opens and then the rear opens, he set it up for just a little while and used that when you hit wide open on the 2-barrel, both the outboards would dump at the same time. And that was like hitting the nitrous button. It would just wham. That would also it would take off like a streak of shit, but it'd also take like 4 gallons of fuel to do it. I'm exaggerating, of course, but yeah, she was something else. And the sound of that whole secondary setup kicking in. Yeah, like hitting the nitrous button. Be a lot of fun to keep plugs in. Yeah. Especially if you're running champions, right? That's one of the things that I'm going to make sure to do is when I start to put Shop Truck's engine together, I've got my headers. I'm going to take some time with the engine here in the shop and bolt headers on and have them ready to rock, and then go about taking spark plugs in and out and making sure I can do it easily, and then making provisions and stuff now. Yep, Shop Truck gets to 413. First engine's a 413. That's just the make it run engine. And then I want to build a gnarly 440. And if I have it my way, if my budget will allow, I want to do a max wedge port tunnel ram and heads on the gnarly 440. And I watched the whole thing on Engine Masters about port volume and the 440, and even the max wedge port is still not enough to support what it could really take. But it's 30% larger than normal. Yeah, I hope for it to be pretty damn fun. And I want to build a big cube 440. Like, if I had it my way, it'd be like 545 cubic inches, but that's a spendy. That's a spendy. I mean, I'd be happy with something 500 horsepower. But yeah, I would love to have something really mucho cube. But then again, a good running 440. I want to find, for the time being, I'd like to find. We found out that on Damien's Dart that we had a notch for a header bar and a socket. Exactly. Make those numbers with an Amazon Turbo. Yeah. Especially the 440 having the dish pistons and the low compression, it would definitely be a good turbo candidate. I'd have to go in and widen up the ring gap on it, though. If I was going to put the boosty boost to her. It was on turbo and LS. Yeah, but for how long? I mean, I've seen guys take 200,000 mile LS engines and throw their throw their whole top end and cam and everything in it, and yeah, the thing will make 1,200 horsepower for a while, and then she won't, and then they'll just swap it all onto another one, and it'll make 1,200 horsepower for a while till it won't. I mean, that hasn't changed at all. Hey, I'm glad that worked out. That you're welcome, Mom. Want to try it? No, thanks. I'll use the 5.3 as a place to make sure that important papers don't blow away. I'll have a 5.3 as a coffee table in my man cave. Oh, my lying? It'd be a big block Chrysler block with a sheet of glass on top of it. I can't lie. Or it would be if you've ever seen the Jay Leno's tank car, that thing's way cool. That's a V10 tank engine, but it's a Chrysler Hemi, and it's an air cool, and it takes like 10 gallons. It takes like, I think, 15 gallons of oil, at least 10. And that thing is way cool. It has these two big fans that run off of their cam driven, but the fans sit in the intake valley, and they face up, and there's two of them, and they both are cam driven, and that thing looks way cool. So I'd have one of those as a coffee table. Freaking glass would be up here. I mean, the 5.3 that's in Lady Dougster's Avalanche is okay. It's okay. I take it out and I put her through. I don't harp on my Lady Dougster's vehicles at all, but you get a piece of it every once in a while, and it's not rotating the earth, but it's not slow. I've driven much worse. I've driven much faster. I took when she first bought it, because I already had Black Betty, and she drove it, and she's like, I like it. My favorite time was when she got a piece of it, and then she looks at me and goes, ooh. So I go for the first time, take her Avalanche for a drive, and I come back, and she goes, did you like it? I go, yeah. She goes, will it beat your black truck? And I said, absolutely not. And I'm not joking. It will not. Boring. Yeah. Well, in stock configuration is boring. I mean, somebody can take a 5.3 and make it spicy. The firing order on the 5.3 is really interesting because they swapped two other cylinders besides the 4 and the 7. And so the firing order, I guess they say, loads the crank better for more even power distribution across the whole engine. David Freiberger talked about it all in detail one day, and I thought it was fascinating. I think with the quality of cans, brand loyalty isn't realistic in terms of affordability. Dutch, I understand exactly what you're saying. Just build it cheap, build it fast, and then whatever it is, just don't swap them. Just don't swap them into Mopars. Please don't crossbreed. But yeah, I get it. I mean, just go on Marketplace and look for small block Chevy parts or big block Chevy parts. Holy crap, you could throw together a decent mill with some decent parts for not that much money if you know what you're shopping for and buy the right stuff. And then, yeah, just got to drive around and got to go 30 minutes this way to get the intake manifold. And I got rocker girdles for it. And now I got the bigger studs for it. And they're tapped. So now I'll have to tap my head. So between those girdles and the bigger rocker studs that are tapped, that'll make a big difference. And just, you can build a pretty decent small block or a big block. So I get it, but no third gen Hemi and an older Mopar. At least it's Mopar, Dan. At least it's Mopar. And third gen Hemis can make some mean power. Mean power. Call me Melvin. I don't care. It was my dad's middle name anyway. Take a Ferrari to LS Fest. My friend, he came up with that very same analogy that you just said, Dutch. He was a Chrysler guy, still is a Chrysler guy, and the very same Valiant that he had when we were in high school. Back then, it was canary yellow, with a slant 6 in it. And then he painted it fire engine red, and then he had various small blocks in it. I think, yeah, that thing did have a really spicy 340 in it for a while. And then he painted it blue, and then he LS swapped it. And for that whole reason, best bang for the buck. And yeah, why would I spend this much more to build a Mopar when I could build a really badass LS? To each their own, but I'd rather have Mopar power. But I mean, bang for buck. Okay. The current swept line that he's got is awesome, people. That truck sits in my dream garage. It's a real power wagon. It's a short box regular cab. And yeah, it's a cool truck. It's a way cool truck. No, it's not a dude. It's a power wagon. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Dutch about the dudes. Hi, Justin. And no, it's not a Fargo. It's an actual Dodge, but the Fargos are pretty cool. Because I was suggesting he put a dude stripe on it because I think it would look sharp. But, Dutch being the Mopar guru that he is, he's like, Dodge dudes were only two-wheel drives. Fargo stuff in Michigan? Yes. I've only seen a couple of Fargos. And I've seen an M100 Mercury, which was cool. I'm driving down the road and turn a corner and up the street. I see Mercury on the back of a tailgate. I'm like, huh? Mercury? I don't think the Dodge Dude was the muscle truck, Danster. I think it was the CSS, Custom Sports Special. Yeah, it was like 64 Custom Sports Special. So that's it's the same swept-line truck, but it's the earlier grill, earlier front end. Same swept-line truck. But the CSS Custom Sports Special came with a Max Wedge 426 in it, which that is the original muscle truck. That thing had to kick ass. I'm bringing a Super Coupe out to Mopars in the Park for sale. It's a builder, non-running. Ever catch sight of a Pontiac Beaumont or Arcadian? There is a guy, Jimmer Klein, up in Grand Rapids. He is a hot rodder from the 80s, and he still does it. And he had a 66 Chevelle that was absolutely stupid fast and on the drag strip. And we seen him dragging the bumper one particular night at Martin Dragway with it. Silly fast. And he ended up wrecking out his 66, and he was going for Street Tire Shootout. He won a championship with it. It was like Street Tire Shootout. And he ended up cracking up his car, and his friend had a Arcadian that he loaned him, and then Jimmer took all of the goodies out of his Rec 66 GTO that he drove in high school. Last I knew, the GOAT was going to come back because Jimmer's got that kind of cash, but he's a hell of a racer. And then he ended up using a borrowed Arcadian. It ended up winning the whole shooting match on stock tire or something like that. It was a big deal. Yeah, Jimmer Klein's always been a hell of a racer. So yeah, I've seen like one or two Arcadians and Beaumonts. I know I've seen a couple Arcadians, because the Beaumont, Pontiac Beaumont? No, Chevy. No, it was Pontiac. What was really cool is when I go when you go up for St. Ignace Car Show, which is the last weekend in June in St. Ignace. St. Ignace is the first town you come to after you cross over the Mackinac Bridge. And June in the Upper Peninsula is absolutely beautiful. I highly recommend it. Gorgeous. And you're right on the bay, overlooking Mackinac Island and everything in St. Ignace. It's pretty cool. Miles of cars lined up for show. Biggest car show I've ever been to. And you talk to international. I mean, there's people that drive from Western Canada to it. I've seen street rods with California plates, everything there at St. Ignace. And it's really cool talking to those Canadian guys, because in Canada, you're not allowed to have rusty cars. So these guys, if they care, pour a lot of money into their cars, keeping them nice so they can pass all their inspections and everything. And then having these Canadian guys talk about, well, there's a lot of Canadian-only stuff on Canadian cars that weren't offered in American cars. He goes, the core pieces we can get, that didn't change, but there's a lot of Canadian-only stuff, and there's a lot of U.S.-only stuff, and knowing they put different dashes in them and all sorts of stuff. Closest I think I've seen was an Ultima. It was a ship box, late 80s Le Mans with Canadian plates and completely different branding. I think it was a rental. Saw it on I-75 near Cincinnati. Have you taken the ferry across to Wisconsin? No, I haven't, Junkyard. The girl's the only cosmetic difference. Oh, yeah. No, I haven't, Junkyard, but I so want to. The ferry is, well, there's a couple of them. You've got the Lake Express, which is the fast one. And then you've got the USS Badger, the SS Badger, not USS, SS Badger. And the Badger's the old coal-fired steamship, and she's That's the one I want to be on. It takes 4 hours to get across. I think it was like 2 hours 45 minutes on the fast one, and then 4 hours on the slow one. But screw it, I'm going to go for. I like history, so I want to ride on the old one. I don't care if it takes me a little longer. And you get to play bingo down in the galley. So while you're on the trip, they'll have you can go to the galley and play bingo. And they've got this is what my friends tell me. And then they've got the galley serves like hot dogs and burgers, and you can get a beer as long as it's serving time. You can get a beer while you're on the boat, and you can actually get a cabin and sack out, or you can just lounge around, play bingo, walk out on the deck, check out Lake Michigan as you head across. But yeah, I do want to go to Wisconsin via the ferry, especially on my motorcycle. That'd be cool. I took a ferry across the Ohio River to Kentucky to buy Mustang parts. And I was beloved old 82 Mustang GT 5 points slow. I mean, oh. Can you take a truck and a trailer? Yes, you can take a. I believe you can. Yeah, I think you can. But check into it. No, don't take my word for it. Yeah, you can take a truck and a trailer. Yes, you can, JYD. My friend JMO would drive his semi truck because he finally, before he hung up his keys from driving, he figured it out, and he was an owner operator, and paying to take the ferry from Michigan to Wisconsin and back. That was 4 hours that he didn't have. He didn't have to go through Chicago. It was less mileage, more direct, and he saved money doing it. It costed more in fuel to make that same turn than it would to just pay the fee and go across. Because he sent me video that somebody took off, because there's a big door on the back of the Badger that sits open, and then you can see the vehicles parked inside, and they happen to have JMO's truck. At the time, he was driving a it's the Aero Peterbilt. It's the last big Peterbilt, the one that looks like a spaceship, real aerodynamic, because it was actually designed by the original design was actually designed by NASA. Yes, NASA. And so there's a white and baby blue truck, and you can see it. The ship's going away, and you're watching that big door go and close over top of it. That was cool. Conventional Pete? No, cab over. Just avoiding Chicago would be worth it. Exactly. I'll tell you this right now, JYD, if you're ever going to come into Michigan and you got to go through Chicago, try to time it so you go through Chicago in the middle of the night. 2 o'clock in the morning, midnight is when you want to go through there. That way, it's just, you're right through. Otherwise, if you're there, you don't want to be there at rush hour. Oh my God, no. Don't do it. Rush hour sucks. Yeah, that's the best advice I can give you. Same applies for the greater Atlanta area. If you want to get around quickly, do it in the middle of the night when everyone's sleeping. That place is just littered with traffic. Connor, good to see you. Yeah, entirely avoiding Chicago. Yeah, it's the ferry doesn't run. It runs out of Ludington, Michigan, and it runs to Manitowoc, Wisconsin, which is basically Milwaukee, but you're going to Manitowoc. I was just going to add Atlanta. Yeah. Oh, I bet. Southern Ohio. Yeah, Southern Ohio in the Ohio Valley. Now, it's so sad. All I can think of when you say Cincinnati, anything about Cincinnati, all I can think of is KRP. I really did love that show. Jan Smithers, the lady who played Bailey on the show, she's so hot. The undercover hottie, you know? Because at one time she got all dolled up with no glasses, and you're like, hello. There is a humongous junkyard. I think it's in Minnesota. And I want to say it's like 160 acres of cars. And I cannot think of the name of the yard off the top of my head, but it's somewhere in Minnesota. Yeah, it's like 200 acres of cars. I actually read about it in a hot rod magazine. So, yeah. We went out to a junkyard. That Blood Demon, what's going on? Yeah, they do, Dan. We went to a yard years ago. My friend is a big Chevelle guy. He's always messing with Chevelles, and he needed parts. He needed a package tray for his 70 Chevelle. Oh, okay. And we went to this place that was an old junkyard that closed in like 1978 when the old guy passed on. And then the son would come and open the yard only on Saturdays from 7 to noon. And that place, you couldn't buy a whole car out of there, but that place was just so cool. And there was a real deal GTO in there and all sorts of nice stuff. Well, anyways, the Chevelle that we ended up going to, it was a navy blue Chevelle, or what was left of a navy blue Chevelle, and it was hit in the butt. And that whole part of the car had completely rusted away. And me and my friend Gene were there. Gene walks up to the Chevelle, standing on what's left of the trunk. I mean, it's gone. It's just rusty, flaky crap on the ground. He takes the bottom piece of trim off, sets it off to the side, carefully pulls the back glass out, sets that to the side, and took the package tray out and went about our business. That's how bad that Chevelle was. And I guarantee you that was probably 2002. I'd be surprised if that yard was still there. I don't even remember. Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm not surprised you know him. I grew up with him. Yep. Yeah, there isn't very many Genes. His old man was cool too. His old man had a really bad tub buggy. He had a few really old. Gene's old man had a whole bunch of really cool stuff. Oh yeah. Well, Gene's always flipped cars. He's had everything. So yourself in Michigan in the early 90s, it was way rustier than Ohio cars. Oh yeah. I swear to God, we have our own patented blend of car annihilating rust here in the great state of Michigan. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, Gene's always wheeled and dealed. Gene for a little while had a white. It was white with burgundy graphics, burgundy interior, Monte Carlo Aero Coupe, and that car was just bone stock, but it was super nice. And Dutch knows exactly. This guy always has some really nice stuff. He'll have something that's kind of ratty, but it's getting fixed up. But usually, what he's bombing around in is nice. He's got a what year's his vet? I think it's a 62. He's got a convertible 62 or 63 Corvette. It's gold and it's sweet. It is sweet. But that's how Gene rolls. Sweet rides. Oh, I know Ohio's cars rust. No, I haven't. My friend Crazy Charlie, he told me about like he's told me exactly where Jordan and Barry's place was, and I just never. I always heard about Barry being of ill health, and I never wanted to bother him because he was of ill health. Yeah, I really need to check out Jordan. Gene knows everybody. I don't remember him having a Ram Charger. I'm not surprised. Yeah. Yeah, I do know that. I do know that. Everybody around here had 727s built by Barry. Where's Mo Party this year, Junkyard? Yeah, avoiding Chicago, that'd be. And even if you took the slow ferry or the fast ferry, but just kicking back for 2.5 or 3 hours. Oh, Bowling Green, Kentucky. Okay. So basically, you'd go through Michigan straight south and drive all the way. You still have to drive diagonal across the Mitten into Ohio, and then straight south into Kentucky. That actually wouldn't be. I think you're onto something, Junkyard. Yeah, missing Chicago altogether. Yeah. And besides, wouldn't it be nice to kick back for 4 hours and take in something nice and relaxing? As long as the weather's nice. Watch it be your luck that day. You're like, whoa, riding the waves all the way over from Wisconsin. Well, if you're cutting through West Michigan, at least stop and have I'll buy you lunch, Junkyard. I'd be honored to buy you lunch. For sure. But really, you'd want to go just a direct line. You'd probably be driving diagonal down because you're coming into Ludington, and that's north of Muskegon. So Ludington's over an hour north of me, straight and almost like northwest. No Edmund Fitzgerald. Yeah, the Edmund Fitzgerald rode waves that were way bigger than what you'll encounter. The legend has it she rode 75 footers that night. That's an interesting shipwreck. A lot of people spend a lot of time talking about that. And of course, there's controversy and all that stuff. Yeah, a lot of friends of mine have taken the ferry, and they say usually it's no big deal. But Michigan weather can be that way sometimes. No Edmund Fitzgerald. And besides, that was in Lake Superior, not in Lake Michigan. Why? Don't you want to have Gordon Lightfoot sing a song about Junkyard D? Oh, wait, he's gone. He can't do that no more. There's the in the Upper Peninsula, if you take the Mackinac Bridge is on I-75. And if you take I-75 all the way north, there's only a little strip of expressway from across the Upper Peninsula, and it goes from Mackinac Bridge and then just straight north, and it ends at like Newberry area or anything. And then you can drive up to where the Sulaks are, which that is way cool, people. Definitely, if you're in that area, check out the Sulaks, because you see Canada right across the river, and these big ships come in and go. It's pretty neat. And then go to the Alpha Bar for lunch, which is right across from the locks. That's pretty neat. But that's all the expressway is in the Upper Peninsula. The rest of the whole western side of the Upper Peninsula has no expressways. It's all 55 miles an hour. I'm sure there's some zones where you can go faster, but yeah, it's all two-lane blacktop. Mackinac Bridge is really cool. Trust me on this one. If you're doing it on a bike, JYD, you've got the grate on in the middle of the bridge. You've got 4 lanes on the Mackinac Bridge, and one lane is grate, and one lane is like actual steel grate, and then the other one is actually cement. And it's really, really, really creepy when you're riding a motorcycle on the grate and you just have everything's fine because you're just a road and paying attention to what you're doing, and then you look down and you're a pretty good distance up off of the water, and it'll freak you out. You'll instantly signal and get over. Preferably on the bike. It can get really gusty on Mackinac Bridge, so be prepared. But you can see Mackinac Island right from the bridge, and it is that's really cool. We, by absolute accident, we ended up running into a guy at a VFW hall in Mackinac City, which is the last town, if you're going north on 75, the last town in the lower peninsula is Mackinac City. Then you get on the bridge, go across, and St. Ignace is the first city you come to in the upper peninsula. And we were at a VFW hall. We run into a local, born and raised in Mack City. And he was talking about coming up for snowmobiling. He's like, we got great snowmobiling. So we took him up on the offer. We took our sleds and come visited him. He put us up in his old house, and this big old house that he inherited from his family. He made his living filleting fish all summer long for the whitefish dinner all over Mackinac City in the Upper Peninsula. Most of the restaurants will have a whitefish dinner special, and it's usually just excellent. And it's usually pretty cheap because they catch it right there, and it's fresh filleted, and oh yeah. So he took us snowmobiling, and we went out on our snowmobiles on Lake Huron. So actually some of the snowmobile trails you're actually on Lake Huron on the ice, staying close to the shore. And we go up Lake Huron shoreline and out into the Mackinac Straits. Now ships go through there, shipping lanes, so there's broken. They have icebreakers that go through. You have the shipping lanes, of course, you can't go there, but the rest of it, as long as the ice is good, you can ride the snowmobile to Mackinac Island. And there's no modern vehicles allowed on Mackinac Island, but they can't stop snowmobilers from going out there. Well, there's no one there hardly either. There are some people that live year round at Mackinac Island, but it's a rarity. The Grand Hotel that's there is way cool. That hotel is in a movie with Christopher Reeve in it. I think it's called Somewhere in Time. And it's all shot in that hotel, the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island. Well, anyways, we rode out, and we actually rode on Mackinac Island, and then he took us off of Mackinac Island around the rock pile. There's a big rock pile that is a seawall to help keep waves from crashing all over the island. We went off of that one, and we went to this little mound, and it was only big enough for us to park 2 snowmobiles on. The other one was actually sitting on the ice. And we turned, and we're looking west at the Mackinac Bridge. And that was really cool to be there in the lake on this little, it's an island, but it was no bigger than 2 snowmobiles parked side by side on it. And it was really cool because you could see the curvature of the earth, big white expanse out in front of you. It was cool. You could hear the ice cracking, but it was cold and freezing and making those sounds, cracking, not like we're going to fall through here in a minute. We were on like a foot's worth of ice. And it was really cool. And there's a big windmill way out on the shore over on the tip of Lake Michigan that faces west. And that thing's huge. It was really cool. And one night we put a snowmobile in on the shore. It was spring, and it was getting warm. And up towards shore, we had a real warm snap, and we put a snowmobile through the ice, and it sinks, and it's only in like 5 feet of water. I mean, you could stand on the seat of the snowmobile. It wasn't that far down in, but we couldn't get it out. Well, you don't report that. Otherwise, you're going to pay fines, and you have to have a tow truck and pay a diver. And there's fees to the state of Michigan for polluting the lake and blah, 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 blah. So we all just decide we'll come back tomorrow. It's late already, so we just left. And then we get up the next day and come back. Well, there was a cold snap. And with the cold snap, the ice froze back up. And when it froze back up, it pushed out, and it started to buckle against itself and then lay flat on top of itself. And we ended up having like 4 feet of ice that we had to cut through with a chainsaw so we could fish the snowmobile out. That was a lot of fun. Preferably on bike. I rode my bicycle over the Ohio River at Cincinnati going into Kentucky when I bought my truck. Nice. Hey, Dougster and friends. Hey, Dr. G. I ran across a 16mm movie my grandparents too, showing that big bridge when it was only a few years old. Very cool. Yes. The bridge was built in 1958. I think it was completed in 1958 or 1957. Oh yeah, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. That guy was a bachelor. He inherited that guy we would ride snowmobiles with. He was a bachelor. He inherited his mom and dad's house. He had this huge house in downtown Mackinac City, and he worked local. The only job he ever had was working at that fish place, filleting whitefish for 9 months out of the year, and he'd get laid off in the winter and get paid unemployment. And yeah, that guy was an absolute hoot. He had the fancy, the house was so old it had a fancy dining room, and he had a bar box pool table in his dining room, and yeah, go to his house and just drink beer till the wee hours of the morning and play pool. It was great. Just keep your drink off the pool table, and we'll be fine. Someone's drunk ass put their beer on the pool table. Didn't spill it, but yeah. It's a bedroom now. Yeah, my dad talks about being a little kid and going up into the by St. Ignace, or sorry, um, Mackinac City, and then looking through the fence in the knot holes, looking through at the um, bridge under construction. Yeah, I think it was 57 or 58 when it was completed. And also, there's a fort at the foot of the Mackinac Bridge on the south side. It's Fort Michilimackinac, which is an old fur trader's post from the 1700s, which is way cool. There's a lot of history in that area, in the Straits of Mackinac. The reason why they chose that is that's the straits, that's the shallowest part, because basically it's two lakes that are coming together. So that's where Lake Michigan ends and Lake Huron starts. So that's why they chose to put the bridge through there. There used to be two car ferries that used to run between St. Ignace and Mac City, and one was called the Vacationer, and I can't remember the name of the other one. But in St. Ignace, the car dock is still there. It's, you know, hasn't been used in 70 something years, but the unloading dock for cars is still there. 1700 fur trader. Ah, my 1700 fur trader, fifth generation grandpa was at that fort from time to time. Yes, he was making his money, bringing his packs in for money. Yes, that's cool. I don't think I had. Well, we all immigrated. Uh, 9 generations back to me. Cool, Dr. G. Cool. My whole family, both sides of my family, immigrated around the Civil War time. On my mom's side I have Civil War ties on both sides of my family. On my mom's side of the family, there was a man named Ludwig, and he enlisted. He was from Germany, and he enlisted and perished. And then on my dad's side, um, on my dad's side, his mom's family, my great grandfather or double great grandfather was also a Civil War vet, but he came from Quebec, Canada, at 18 years old. His father told him, "Don't move to America and don't get mixed up in that Civil War they've got going on." And guess what he did? Him and Forrest Gump had something in common. They both were shot in the buttocks. He was part of an engineering unit. He built bridges, and he was down somewhere south of the Mason-Dixon line, and a rebel sniper decided to put some lead in his backside. So he ended up getting discharged honorably, and he took his pay, and he came to Michigan, and he went through acres of virgin timber forest to find his surveyor stakes. And I can take you to our family farm that he founded. He was recovering from his injuries. He lived in a two-man canvas tent for 2 years by himself, clearing virgin timber land, and the only assistance that he had was 2 oxen. My cousin Rex has the ox yoke that was given to him by my great grandfather. My great grandfather was still alive when I was a kid in the 80s. He passed in the 80s, and he was like 93 or 94. So of my last name, I am fifth from fifth generation, going from when he came from France to America. And my great great grandfather, yes, my great great grandfather marched to Moscow with Napoleon. It says it on his headstone. Marched to Moscow with Napoleon. He was a lieutenant. How cool is that? So after Napoleon fell out of favor, nobody liked anyone included with him, that my grandfather fled France to Greenland, Greenland to Canada, Canada. He came to America, to Michigan. Oxen can move some stuff, though. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you I thought it's, yeah, a real badass. Family paddles down from Montreal to help settle Green Bay in the 1700s. Family came to Montreal from France in 1400s. Wow. Cool, Dr. G. Cool. The funny thing is that everyone makes a point to talk about Napoleon's height. And yes, Napoleon was short, but all men were short at that time. And believe it or not, Napoleon was tall in retrospect with everyone, because they think everyone was 6 feet tall like we are today. No, it's not the thing. It's not the case. So he was actually like, so if you were an inch over someone, that was huge. So yeah, he is, by today's standards, Napoleon is a small man, but from what I understand, this is oral history through a friend of mine, that yeah, Napoleon was actually a taller person of the time. And no, he didn't invent the whole hand in the shirt button thing. There's a whole bunch of other guys that were all doing that too. It was in vogue before Napoleon. But Napoleon gets the credit for that. Man, he was a giant then. If he was 5'11", he was a giant. World's tallest man, Robert Wadlow. His feet were so big that when he would take a full step, the time that it took for the heel strike to happen and then the ball of the foot strike, it sounded like a man taking 2 steps to his 1. Indiana, Robert Wadlow. Yes. His it sounded, 1 footstep sounded like a normal man's 2 footsteps, and his feet were so long that he couldn't walk up normal stairs normally. He had to turn his legs sideways, and he had to step up that way to walk upstairs. Just what a humongous man. I heard he was very gentle, and he didn't live very long, and he had an appreciation for history. And one of the things that he got to go see was Gettysburg. And he was just so enamored by that. And I read that brought him so much joy to see that. Yeah, born in 1923. That was 6'2". Wow. Wow. I mean, there's always going to be tall people, but wow, she was a giant. Wow. There is a lady, I want to say she's 5 years older than me, and she's like 6'3" or 6'4", and she never wears heels. I've never ever seen her in heels. Dougster is still alive. Oh yeah. 2 hours and 21 minutes strong. I probably will be buttoning it up though soon. But yeah, I've never seen her wear heels. It's always a nice dress shoe. She's a realtor. But yeah, she never wears heels. It's always nice shoes, but they're always no heel. And she's actually very curvy for a very tall woman. She's awesome. It just takes a minute to get used to her height. Yes, welcome back, Ari. He probably did his whole commute and probably checked to see if I was still alive. And he's like, holy crap, he is. And of course, I'm sure the ladies' basketball coach wanted her to play for the team. Ooh, stare it. I like stare it. Well, speaking of tools, measuring tools, I got this at the vintage motorcycle show yesterday, and it is it's Intrepid tools made in Switzerland. It is a run out dial. So yeah, if I ever need to make sure that flywheel's on nice and straight, now I can check that. My friend Brian was a machinist. When he retired, they ended up giving him not only, I guess, they ended up sending him with another co-worker's tools. He had passed away, and all of his family was on the other side of the state, and nobody claimed his tools or anything. What all of his stuff was left behind, and nobody ever come got it. So they gave my friend his tools on top of his own, and that's some of this. So I'm kind of was the most men at around 250 pounds and broad shoulders. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I got the Intrepid, Swiss made. That's a good tool. My friend Brian tells me that he likes that over a Starrett or a Brown and Sharp. And I'm like, I mean, hey, you're a machinist. I value your opinion, but okay. And then I got myself some bore gauges. They need to be cleaned up. They need a little help, like 4/0 steel wool. But no dial, but they're no major name. They're just Japanese. But this big one here goes up to 6 inches. So guess what I'll be doing? Now I need to get myself a set of calipers so I can measure these. Micrometers. That's it. Micrometers. Knee reflex testers. Told my lady to sell whatever the kid doesn't want. Mayhew and Koken tools. I've never even heard of Mayhew tools or Koken tools. Huh. Yeah, Snap-on, Blue Point are available. Okay. But tools are tools. I mean, I've seen craftsmen that have the cheapest tools ever. And I've seen guys who are absolute hacks that have the best tools money can buy. The tools don't necessarily make the man, you know. You've never even seen a Blue Point? Really? Mayhew makes good made in USA striking tools. Koken is a Japanese company that makes amazing stuff. Oh, yes. What you've got going for you with the Japanese is you've never seen the Blue Point Danster? Give me a second. The Japanese are huge perfectionists. That's why they make such good stuff, is because they're constantly in a race with themselves to make something better. I'm the hack nice tools. Ari, you're far from a hack. You're far from a hack. All right. Blue Point for Danster. Right back. There. No. Oh. It's next door down. Now I gotta put my breaker bar away. Come on. There we go. There it is. I've got one piece of Blue Point, and it's a hacksaw. Ooh. Blue Point. It's the only piece of Blue Point I have. I have a very little snappy, but that's the only Blue Point piece that I have. I found it at a flea market for next to nothing. It was in a whole pile of just, randoms. And I just happened to look through and I'm like, Blue Point? Oh yeah, this is coming with me. $9? Oh yeah. There you go, Danster. There's Blue Point for you. Matco snap ring pliers. They've been on the first ring. It was one flaw. So I tried the second pair. Same thing. It was a small ring. I returned them ASAP. Hopefully they warrantied it. Nice little saw. I have snap-on socket I found and a Mac trim removal tool I found. Well, I got lucky last summer. I bought a whole mess of tools for $40, and one of them in that tools I bought 2 Matco screwdrivers. I'll grab those. So I got this. I got a nice number 3. Nice number 3. Phillips. Can barely see. Yeah, that shows up all right. There's Matco. And I probably gave cents for this one. Well, then I had a 12-inch number 1 with a smaller handle, same color, burgundy. And I was all excited about that. I bought a lot of nice stuff that day. I bought like SK Wayne, Thornton, these Matco screwdrivers. So I'm all excited because that number 1 was really nice and long. Or sorry, number 2. No, it was a number 1. Yeah, it was a thin number 1. And I go to use it. And I'm like, oh man, this thing's like butter. And I'm turning it. And these feel really good in your hands, by the way. And I'm turning it. I'm like, yeah, that's great. All of a sudden I notice the tip of my screwdriver doesn't turn for a little while. And all of a sudden it'll catch and it'll turn. And it does it both ways. And the shank had broken inside the handle. So I'm like, oh, well, I wonder. So I talked to my friends at work. I go, yeah, you guys know the Matco guy? And he goes, Matco guy stops here on Wednesdays. Why? I said, well, I got this screwdriver. He goes, Wednesday, bring it in. Just bring it in next Wednesday. All right. So I bring it in, and he runs over onto the Matco truck, and the Matco guy looks at the screwdriver, and he's like, yep, it's broke, and we can't repair it, and we don't repair them. He goes, so tell you what, $15 credit for towards a new screwdriver. And he goes, we don't make the number 2 or number 1 in that length anymore. So the best I can do for you is a number 2. So I got this green number 2 in replacement. So $30 instead of $45 for the screwdriver. Okay, yeah. And ooh, Matco. Ooh, Matco. Yeah. The best part of being on the Snap-on truck, not really, is when you're on the back side where they open the big door to give you something big. That's the best part. Yeah, but at the same note, Dan, I can, if I break it again, I'll get a credit and I'll get another screwdriver. So I don't mind that. I mean, should it be free? Yeah, should have been free, but okay, credit towards new. Yeah, $30 for a screwdriver, but how often do I splurge on something like this? Not very often. So yeah, usually all my stuff it's good stuff, but I haven't paid squat for it. That's why you'll see me at swap meets and stuff, and I'm looking at tools, and I'll sort out all the stuff I want. Oh yeah, if I catch a Snap-on, oh yeah. I got these Snap-on deep well swivel sockets that I found in a random toolbox at a garage sale. And the guy's like, are you sure you don't want the Snap-on tools in a cheaper box? Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had that Craftsman box for forever. And I do have over in the other side, you can't see it. Yeah, you can. Right there. That's my Snap-on box. And it's like a 1980 KRA box. It's the big white one. And I think it might be because the security door that goes down that blocks all the drawers is missing on that. Like the hinge wore out and somebody just took it off. And I think it might be a Casey Mears edition toolbox. But all of that would have been on the front of that Snappy box. Yeah, I can see that. But Ari, go find a nice vintage Snap-on toolbox. Don't buy a new one. Voice started my tools with cheap, and as it breaks up, oddly enough, I have a lot of cheap tools that are still going strong. Oh yeah. Why pay more? I'm always looking for tools. that's one of my things. And just throw the hunt. Matco, hell yeah. Never had Matco before. See that? That was cool, huh? Do it again, do it again. Let's get her put back. uh, yeah. Well, what stinks is that you get a new technician working at the dealership, and then all the technician sees is when he walks in the door, and he's got a simple toolbox and simple tools, and he sees Charlie's got the big old taco wagon snappy toolbox all filled with the best tools, and then old Bob does too, and so does Stan. And that kind of becomes the industry standard. Well, that little toolbox you got isn't good enough anymore in your mind. So you get these poor technicians that are starting off fresh, and then they're sending half their income out the door. They're toolbox poor. They just stepped on the truck and got the toolbox of their dreams and all the tools to fill it, and then basically they work for the Snappy Man. And that's probably why they tell you to buy the cheaper tools, is just don't grind yourself into debt like some poor people do. And it's sad. And when I worked in auto parts one day, the Snappy guy always came at the same time. And one day it's like 2:00 in the morning, and he walks in and he says, "I'm looking for so-and-so's toolbox. It's this color. Oh, that'll be over here." And he walked over to it, and there's stuff sitting on it. He set it all nicely down to the side and unlocked the brakes and wheeled it out the door and said, "Hey, when you see so-and-so, tell him I need to talk to him," and loaded up his toolbox and left. That sucks. That sucks bad. And that toolbox that he repossessed was awesome. It was this deep, dark burgundy. And of course, it was all polished out and it looked awesome. And it had this blonde butcher block snap-on top on it that just was awesome. And he was so proud of his toolbox until it got repossessed. That same Snap-on guy had a neat trick that he'd do. I've seen Snap-on guys over the years. They all have their thing. And this guy's thing was the little toothpaste tubes of Snap-on orange hand soap. Everybody likes Snap-on hand soap. And nowadays, I guess it's only around for Christmas time when you get the big jars of the orange snappy soap. But it used to be something you could get all the time. What he would do is he always had his business card and a tube of Snap-on soap rubber banded together. And if you bought tools from him or not, he would leave a tube of soap on your toolbox. And that was his signature. Oh yeah, Snap-on soap. It's great. It's orange. Oh man, that stuff, it smells great. It works good. Yeah, Snap-on soap. It's good stuff. And another snappy guy that I dealt with, he always had a deck of cards in his hands. The whole time you're on his truck, he is playing with a deck of cards. And then so you go and pick out what you want, and you go up and Pumas? Pumas? Well, anyways, you pick out what you want, and let's say you got 4 tools. Well, he'd take one of them and set them off to the side, and then he'd say, it's going to be this much for these three. And then he would shuffle the deck one more time and set it in front of you. He says, he'd say, call it high or low. And okay, high. He goes, high card wins. And then he'd cut the deck, and then you'd cut the deck. And if you called it high and you were high, you got that tool free. Otherwise, you had to pay for it. But that was how he rolled. So you could win a free tool. Maybe. And that was his gimmick. So that's pretty neat. That stuff takes stink off a turd. Oh, pumice. Pumice. I think it's a smooth soap. Or if it's got light pumice in it. I understand. Pumice. Pum ice is how that's spelled, Dan. Okay. Yeah, pumice. It's been so long since I've last had it. I think it's smooth soap. I don't think it's got pumice in it. It's been so long. It's been a long time. Pumice is also Pumice. Pumice is also acceptable. Like in the old game shows where somebody gives a weird answer and the guy's like, judges? Oh, yeah, they said that's okay. Yeah, snappy. Gotta love snappy stuff. And then, like my friend J-Mo, he's like all snappy all the time. And I make the jokes that he needs to have like a snap-on dog collar and snap-on underwear, and his wife wears snap-on lingerie because he's got like a snap-on coffee maker. He's got a snap-on train set. He has a snap-on slot car set. He has snap-on poker table, snap-on poker table or poker chips, poker set, snap-on cards, snap-on mugs. The one that I really like the most is the snap-on socket ice cube trays that make little sockets. Snappy tomato pizza. Yeah, as a matter of fact, J-Mo always wears this hat. It looks like the OnlyFans logo, but it says Only Tools on it. Wow. It is, wow, it's getting late. Yep. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to finally call it. And I'm having a damn good time with all of you. But, oh, wait. Pumice sucks. It floats like potatoes, and we have lots of it here in Southeast Ohio. It goes through our systems at work and shatters our knives and plugs up everything at work. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can totally see that. As rough as pumice can be. My mom had a pumice stone. So I bet you she still has it. My mom has a pumice stone. And it's surprisingly light. And it's like the size of a bar of soap. You pick it up and you expect it to have some weight to it. No, it's really light. Thanks, Danster. And I'd like to thank everyone for coming and hanging out with me. Though I was late, I wasn't. It was always worth attending a Dougster Live. Well, thank you. Pumice plug potato packages. So, everyone, be here next week. Same Dougster time, same Dougster channel. Bye, everybody.